Hey folks, Marvel ended the first season of X-Men 97 on a high note with lots of style, setting the stage for an exciting future for the revived series. That ending also set the bar high for the upcoming X-Men movies in the MCU. The last episode finished the storyline of Bastion's zero-tolerance object with the villain's defeat, but at the same time introduced an even bigger threat with the return of one of the X-Men's greatest villains. In today's video, we'll break it down into 5 parts. Conclusions from the main story of episode 10, what the return of Apocalypse and the little post-credit scene mean for the future of the series, what happened to the X-Men at the end of this first season, what the story will be for the second season of X-Men 97, the ending all but guaranteed the arrival of the villain Onslaught. What did the season 1 finale really mean? To start, let me know what you'd rate season 1 out of 5 stars and the season finale out of 5 stars in the comments below. Let's talk in the comments, shall we? Continuing. The X-Men have managed to save Earth once again, and who knows, maybe even regain some of society's trust. But make no mistake, it wasn't an entirely happy ending. There were several questions left unanswered, especially since the second season is already confirmed. One of the most exciting parts is that the ending hinted at the return of one of the mutants most beloved by fans, but with a much darker twist. And in a very astute way, the episode even shed light on what may be to come for the end of the film, promising surprising twists and turns. In a clever way, the finale even connected the main themes of the season, community and trauma, closing with a golden key. Part 1, X-Men 97, Episode 10, Main Story Conclusions. Professor Xavier utilized Magneto's powers to attempt to reverse an EMP attack from Earth, but ended up destroying his psyche. Meanwhile, Jean Grey, resurrected by the Phoenix Force, managed to defeat Mr. Sinister. At another critical juncture, Bastion evolved into a superior form, even ripping off Cable's arm and absorbing his technovirus. Faced with fear, the UN decided to approve the use of the Magneto protocols, which led to the firing of missiles at Asteroid M in a desperate attempt at destruction. Xavier then managed to return Magneto to his body, and he in turn saved Earth, but at the cost of dispersing the X-Men. Some were sent to the past and others to the future. Bishop returned and joined Forge with the goal of finding the lost X-Men, or, if need be, forming a new team. The majority of the X-Men ended up in ancient Egypt to either meet or face Apocalypse, while Cyclops and Jean went to the distant future. There, they encountered the Ascani clan and a young Cable. What will be the version of this Cable? Comment below as I sip my coffee to move on to the next part. Part 2. What does the return of Apocalypse in X-Men 97's post-credits scene mean for the series' future? Shortly after the credits roll on X-Men 97, we're quickly returned to the present-day ruins of Genosha. A background voice mourns the destruction, lamenting, "So much pain, my children, so much death," as Apocalypse is shown picking up one of Gambit's ruined cards from the ground. The choice of words is deeply significant, particularly since Gambit becomes one of Apocalypse's 4 horsemen in the comics, taking on the role of Death following the decimation event. X-Men 97 hints at a surprising twist on Gambit's return. In the comics, Gambit willingly became Death, believing it could help restore the mutants after they were decimated by the Scarlet Witch. Here, the plot thickens even further, suggesting that Apocalypse plans to revive Gambit so that he can take on a new role by his side. Apocalypse was last seen in X-Men, the animated series, where the X-Men defeated him and sent him to the astral plane. There, he demanded that Fabian Cortez find a new body for him and ended up taking Cortez's body after his failure. Since then, Apocalypse has somehow managed to restore his physical form, returning to the imposing appearance that X-Men fans remember. Considering his powers, this is not surprising, but it's likely that the second season of X-Men 97 will explore how this happened. So, did you enjoy the post-credits? Do you agree with everything I said? Comment below while I take a sip of my coffee so we can move on to the next part. Part 3. What happened to the X-Men at the end of X-Men 97 when trying to prevent the cosmic asteroid from colliding with Earth? After the UN's Magneto protocols failed as expected, the X-Men were ready to sacrifice themselves. Beast's plan to block the impact didn't work, but at a crucial moment, Charles Xavier managed to revive Magneto, who intervened in time to stop the asteroid. Surprisingly, though, the asteroid was vaporized and disappeared along with the X-Men before revealing that they had been transported through time. Most of the mutants, including the revitalized Magneto, all powerful, were sent to Egypt in 3000 BC, where they encountered Ensabanur, also known as Apocalypse, in a more human form than seen before in X-Men, the animated series. Meanwhile, Cyclops and Jean Grey traveled to the year 3960 AD, where they met their mother, Ascani, and the Ascani clan. They also reunited with their son Nathan, who had been sent to the future to protect him, along with Bishop, at the start of Season 1. But what actually sent the X-Men back in time? In the comics, both Beast and the Phoenix Force have been responsible for stories where the X-Men have time traveled, but neither seems to be the case here. Episode 97 of X-Men suggests that Apocalypse might be the key to this event in the end. And given that the villain has used time travel before, this connection to the timeline might be the explanation for what happened. Before we continue, remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video to stay up to date. Your likes and subscriptions contribute to the growth of the project, and the more it grows, the more interesting videos I can bring to you. Agreed? Thank you for your support. Continuing. Part 4. The story of the second season of X-Men. 97, the Age of Apocalypse is coming. The post-credit scene of X-Men 97, hinting at the return of Gambit, is a mere premonition of what promises to be an intense storyline in the second season, the New Age of Apocalypse. In the Marvel Comics saga, Blood of Apocalypse, the villain tries to resurrect mutants by creating a new team of Apocalypse Horsemen, a group which Gambit naively decides to join. Taking X-Men back to ancient Egypt to confront the young ant Sabanur before he morphs into his most lethal form might be the key to modifying the timeline and rescuing the future, where the rebels of the Ascani clan encounter Cyclops of Ingray in the Apocalypse territory. The villain appearing at 3 separate points in the story is an incredibly intriguing tactic and promises to greatly enhance the narrative of X-Men 97 Season 2. In the comics, Mother Ascani, voiced in X-Men 97 by Star Trek Stargage McFadden, leads the fight against the Apocalypse by protecting young Nathan Summers, aka Cable. In the end, Nathan confirms to Ascani, the true king that is Summers, that Cyclops and Jean don't pose a threat, setting the stage for further developments in the complex history of the Summers family, set in the midst of the Apocalypse's war against humanity. Crucially, Bishop also returns after parting ways with Cable, allying himself with Forge, the only remaining member of the X-Men left on Earth, bringing back his time travel powers as a key resource to eventually reunite the X-Men. However, it may be that the X-Men trapped in 3000 BC decide that the best chance for the future is to prevent Ant Sabanur from becoming the Apocalypse long before his most radical final form emerges. I see a lot of Xavier protecting Ant Sabanur and Magneto, wanting to kill him once and for all. Comment below what you think while I have my coffee so we can move on to the next part. Part 5. Did the ending firmly guarantee the arrival of the villainous Onslaught in X-Men 97 Season 2? What does the Season 1 finale actually mean? Putting Apocalypse aside for a moment, there's a good chance that Onslaught will appear in the second season of X-Men 97 as the aftermath of Professor Xavier and Magneto's psychic attack unfolds. Professor X was warned that if he failed in his attempt to save Magneto, both longtime rivals could be lost, which hints at a lasting impact that could lead to the Onslaught arc in Season 2 or even later. In the comics, Xavier and Magneto's attack caused the most unstable parts of Eric's psyche to migrate into Xavier's subconscious, merging with Charles's pent-up resentment for the treatment he received from humanity. After a period of dormancy, Onslaught managed to form his own body, resulting in the emergence of one of Marvel's most defining villains. It'd be a logical development for the future of X-Men 97, even though it'll take time. Just as a side note, who remembers Onslaught from that great Avengers vs. X-Men arcade game? X-Men. It was awesome. Comment below if you played it at the arcade. Subtext is key in X-Men 97. The show's first season has already delved into more mature themes than the original 90s series, with Bill DeMaio eager to shed light on how collective experiences of mass trauma have shaped us. That subtext was essential to unraveling the ending of episode 10, when Charles Xavier had to recondition Magneto's mind after he destroyed his psyche. Xavier and Magneto found themselves trapped in some kind of psychic limbo inside Eric's mind, while what remained of his consciousness tried to piece together fragments of his traumatic past. Xavier managed to convince his old friend that he could be a better person, helping him overcome his trauma and deep-rooted hatred for humanity born during the Holocaust. He did this by showing Magneto he's not alone in his trauma, and the X-Men's shared experiences are his strength. The X-Men and I may not resemble each other, but we're still family. The concept of unity, despite differences, was a recurring theme in the first 10 episodes of X-Men. Most of the time, the X-Men team was divided because of their personal growth and ultimately torn apart by the events of Genosha. This culminated in the radicalization of Rogue and Sunspot, who temporarily sided with Magneto, thinking their mutant New World Order was the sole way to address their traumas. Leave your ideas and questions in the comments. I would love to discuss the subject matters of the video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Upcoming video suggestions are displayed here now. It's worth watching them. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Bye.